Yeah. Yeah, charts got them feeling like prophets. Lines drawn sloppy, but they talk like it's logic. Bro, fundamentals? Nah, that's nonsense. That's why they bag whole tokens that died in the process. They mock math, mock macro, mock markets. Whole class birth from the crypto casino carnage. Laughing at usage, bragging about entries. Never read a book on money, but swear they get me. I watch them chart hop, shortcut searching, trying to find a cheat code for a real world burden. They think TA replaces learning. Can't spell liquidity, but swear they're earning. Bitcoin's cold too deep, they skim it. State collapse,
too bleak,
they spin it. Money and credit,
too real,
they dodge it. That's why they treat every pump like a promise.
Kids talk charts like scripture, but can't explain block space, can't model free pressure. Laugh at fundamentals like they're ancient rules, but nothing replaces understanding, that's why the crowd moves like fools.
Lightning dreams had them zoning off nonsense. Bro scale on banks, yeah, that's solid economics. They never studied money, just vibes and hopey. And now they shocked every cycle when fees start choking them. They mock valuation cause it forces reflection, but chase moon boy calls like it's spiritual direction. Draw triangles like it's talisman magic, then blow up accounts. Blame market mechanics, they never learned demand curves, velocity pricing, but tweet LTC dead law like that's insightful writing. Meanwhile I'm charting monetary substitution, they charting lines for emotional resolution. I laid out the macro, state bankruptcy rising, credit cycles tightening, shadow markets thriving, censorship growing, and they still in replies like, bro, that's coke, token not going. They think understanding is effort wasted, till the catalyst hits and the bias gets cratered.
Kids talk charts like scripture, but can't explain block space, can't model fee pressure. Laugh at fundamentals like they're ancient rules, but nothing replaces understanding, that's why the crowd moves like fools.
You really think the universe rewarded laziness? That knowledge is optional and guessing is bravery. You mock fundamentals cause they expose you, and you mock truth cause deep down it controls you. I built the frame, money versus credit, state cycles, block space limits, incentive metrics. You built a triangle and labeled it vision and blamed the market when it didn't listen. Real speculation equals comprehension, and sealed speculation equals attention. One builds wealth through recognition, the other builds cope through superstition. So when the next mania hits and the truth erupts and LTC lifts cause BTC block space choked up, you swear it was random, swear it was luck, cause you never learned why the primitives work. I don't gamble on vibes, I forecast conditions. You don't trade assets, you trade addictions. This whole project is the antidote to delusion. Fundamentals aren't magic, they're the end of confusion. You can mock the work,
mock the reading,
mock the framework,
mock the analysis, but you can't mock the consequences. Understanding isn't optional, ignorance compounds interest.
and it always comes due.
People think speculation is chaos. They think it's a casino, a sickness, a weakness of character. But that's only because they never had to see past the surface. Speculation is just trying to understand truth before the crowd catches up, before the narrative hardens, before belief becomes a prison. The market isn't some perfect rational spreadsheet. It's a nervous system made of fear, shame, greed, denial, and stories people cling to so they don't collapse. I learned that the hard way, not in some trading pit in my own life. Health gone, identity torn apart, no roadmap left. That's when I realized every system collapses the same way a person does. Quietly, then all at once. And the people who survive aren't the ones who guess right. They're the ones who learn to see the mispricing while everyone else is worshiping the chart. Welcome to the real game. It's not gambling. It's understanding the world before it understands itself.
They call it gambling, cause they only see the moment you pressed by. They never see the months you spent watching where the crowd lies to itself. They don't see the edges forming before the chart decides to agree with you. They don't see the hours you spend asking the only question that matters: what's mispriced and why? Yeah, they say it's luck, cause they can't imagine the truth landing early. Crowd psychology's a mirror, you learn to see where the reflection warps. Markets ain't math, they're weather patterns made of fear and pretending. Everyone swears they're irrational, right up until you check their positions and see their convictions, just momentum in disguise. I read the part they skipped a paragraph between price and belief. Every mania is the same, the herd prays to a number first, that makes up the reason later. And I live in that gap, right where headlines lag reality by a full emotional cycle.
What you call gambling?
It's me watching belief form crooked.
What you call guessing?
It's me hearing the tone shift before the chart breeze.
What you call risk?
It's really just truth nobody wants yet.
I'm not rolling dice, I'm reading denial.
I'm reading denial. Speculation ain't degeneracy, it's literacy. It's knowing value ain't a number, it's an argument. And most people argue backwards. Pricing belief story, I just inverted belief story. And pricing the moment they mock you is the moment the ceiling's already cracking. I don't chase pumps, I chase misunderstandings. The places where reality whispers and the timeline screams. Crowds hate early signals, they feel like betrayal, but all real trades are betrayal, betraying consensus.
What you call gambling?
It's just early comprehension.
What you call lucky?
It's me spotting the flaw in the chorus. If you wait for agreement, you miss the whole move. Consensus is confirmation, and confirmation is too late.
I'm not rolling dice, I'm reading in denial.
Speculation ain't degeneracy, it's literacy. It's knowing value ain't a number, it's an argument. And most people argue backwards. Pricey belief story, I just inverted belief story. Pricing the moment they mock you is the moment the ceiling's already cracking. Speculation isn't chaos, it's pattern recauging human emotion. It's knowing the price is just a vote, and votes don't reveal truth, they reveal comfort. I don't trade comfort, I trade the places where comfort cracks. I trade the places where comfort cracks. I trade the places where comfort cracks. I trade the places where comfort cracks.
Every era convinces itself that its story is the final draft. Every cycle forgets the last one existed. But if you zoom out, it's all the same song played in different keys. Utility, hype, delusion, ritual, collapse, rediscovery. Every chain has a childhood, every narrative has a middle-age crisis, and every monetary system dies when it forgets why it mattered.
"2009, Ghost Markets, Cold Bark, no spotlight. Silk Road smoke, real usage gave it strong bite. Back then, Mo was the whole hype. Value moved quiet, no choir, just the wrong type. 2013, he first boomed in the long night. Mount Gox grief, chain dip, but the floor stayed. Cause real users ain't flinch when the tour changed. They ain't storytell, they just paid what the core paid. 2016, Ethereum birthed the ICO stampede. Narrative drifted, Bitcoin caught greed like secondhand smoke. By the dip, culture became the moat. Speculators screaming future while they barely took notes. 2018, when it hit, all graveyards grew, but the floor wasn't built by hype, it was built by the few who still use the chain true. Orders held tight, Taurus went poof. 2020 stimmy checks, hedge talk, CNBC praise. Institutions circling round it like sharks in a maze. Macro tailwinds had retail in the days, calling it digital gold while the utility decayed. 2021 leverage loops, TikTok profits, meme lungs, dog mass rockets. Everyone talked BTC, nobody used it. Block space stuff, but the culture abused it. 2020, 25, now we in the meme lens phase. Change praise more than it's played. Value settled less than the memes get made. Usage plateaued like it's trapped in a cage. Narrative louder than the underlying wage. Funny thing, the story grows cleaner the further it drifts from the messier truth that built it. Every era got rewritten by whoever held bags thickest.
Timeline talk, I mapped every epoch they forgot. Function drops, narrative pops. That's how money turns stock.
Look, they treat history like a highlight reel. Skip the grit and call it glamour real. Act like it always been a hedge for bills, when half the chain's fame came from cartel deals. But that's the point, stories mutate as the cycles inflate. Speculators misremember everything they chase. They preach digital gold like it came pre-laced, but the truth that was born as peer-to-peer cash in a lawless place. Now the narrative's drifting at a breakneck pace. Institutional facelifts, ETF bracelets. Every cycle adds new makeshift basics to justify price floors no usage can validate yet. So I'm charting the chain through its age range, era by era like a case frame. Cause if you don't know how stories get misshaped, you'll mistake momentum for something the ledger actually claimed.
Every money has a pulse, a rhythm, a pattern of being passed between hands. When people stop spending it, stop settling value in it, stop trusting it to do work, that heartbeat fades. Bitcoin's heart slowed when the speculators outnumbered the users. A store of value without motion isn't a store. It's a museum exhibit.
Yeah. SOV with no heartbeat. That's hospice care, not money. Watch this. Look, they treat the ticker like a trophy, never test the tool. Hold it like a stock certificate and call that sovereign rule. Store with value, nobody moving, the chain on mute. No engine under the hood, just fanboys polishing the hood scoop. MOE's the motor, SOV's the smoke trail. You can't worship the exhaust if the pistons never exhale. That's why the chain for stale. They call it digital gold, but no one's swinging it like sales. I'm calm till I'm not, and I'm watching them try to freeze frame a market built on flow. Trying to call a still photo, the path the river goes, delusion grows. They store it cause they hope somebody later stores it more. That's not money, that's a nesting doll of faith with rotten cores.
Yo, miss me with the macro cosplay. Y'all don't save, y'all speculate, pray and narrate. Bro, it's a store of value.
Aight, but who's the buyer on the other side of that parade? When nobody using the chain, when the fees hit pain, when liquidity dry like chalk on a whiteboard stain.
You don't gotta spend it.
That's clown talk, pure code. You don't store what you don't trust. You don't trust what you don't use, and you can't use what you can't afford. So how's that money? Explain it. I'll wait.
Exactly.
This whole SOV without MOE myth. That Stockholm syndrome dressed in crypto shit. People hostage to a bag so long they call the cell antique. See, money ain't magic, it's motion. It's trust reinforced by locomotion. Every ledge is an ocean, current shaped by moving goods, not slogans. If circulation's frozen, that's corrosion, not chosen. They hoard it cause it's get the price of die. If they actually try to use it like the white paper said in '09. Imagine that, money so fragile the whole facade collapses if you press in. Store value without a pulse, that's not economics, that's pretend. I don't defend belief, I dissect incentives. I don't repeat their memes, I check what's on chain, see how usage ended. The rhetoric's ascended, but the settlement volume's descended. And when a gap gets too extended, the market snaps back like it remember what money meant. Kid, hey yo, if your money can't survive a transaction, if your store collapses when people demand action, if the only use case is wait for the next faction of suckers to buy it higher, that's not value, that's extraction. Don't talk SOV to me like a scripture you master, when the whole damn premise is backwards. Moe birth so, not the other way around. You can't crown a chain king when the kingdom ain't even found. Call it harsh, but I call it economic. Y'all call it gold, I call it ghost. No motion, no logic, heartbeat flat, no pulse in the product. I watch them worship the chart while the chain turn tatted. Store of value.
Show me the value in store, show me the movement, show me the mall. Money lives in demand, not devotion. Everything else is a hoax, that's with the logo. Money only matters if you control it, if you can sign for it. Move it, use it, hide it without permission. Once you hand it to an institution, you're not sovereign, you're supervised. And supervised money isn't liberation, it's a polite version of captivity.
Yeah, they call it adoption. I call it custody with a choke collar. Let's talk. You boys confuse access with ownership stupidly. They cheer ETFs like it's victory, but that's surveillance with a suit on, stay real legally. I don't confuse a freeze order with security. They sold you safety with a dotted line eulogy. Now you're sovereign money, reporting to the treasury. Y'all celebrate the leash like a Louis V. I'm laughing, that's a death grip disguised as opportunity. Exposure ain't custody, that's a eulogy for every maxi screaming freedom with a brokerage fee. State the middleman embedded in your address. Yeah, here's the test. Kryptonite's custody, they fold when the feds press. Whoa, I go colder than black ice in adolescence. Heart rate dropped, I'm interrogating their confessions. Bars sound forensic, this whole verse an inspection. Institutional flow, shit, that's future cell pressure dresses protection. You trust auditors, I trust entropy. You trust CEOs, I trust self-keys. You trust a brand name, I trust cryptography. You trust a custodian, congratulations, you own a liability. Look, they brag about adoption like children on a field trip, not realizing the whole damn classroom state-owned equipment. BlackRock don't break rules, they enforce them. Fidelity's a fortress when the warrants start swarming. Try a freeze order, ETF holders ain't revolting, they compliant by design. That's why the state supports it. You ain't sovereign if the broker answers subpoenas for you. If your freedom money turns obedient when Congress calls you out. This is chain of war, I talking fog and subpoenas. Read the fine print, they can blacklist while it's cleaner than laundromat steamers. The whole institutions make a safer thesis, Jesus. That's like handing your getaway keys to the same cops you trying to flee with. I'ma get indicted by indicting the entire cathedral. Eyes wide watching people celebrate a retrieval. Crypto wasn't built so custodians can babysit you. Was built so they can, but y'all forgot the ethos. Y'all traded sovereignty for logos. Asked the IRS to drive the armored truck and called it growth. This ain't adoption, it's relapse. Fiat in a ski mask. Your cold storage on a brokerage balance sheet, that's rehab. One court case, one sanction, one bad headline, and every ETF holder becomes force supply. That's why the chart bleeds on the inside. Institutional Bitcoin ain't Bitcoin, it's a tax compliant mascot, a museum piece behind plexiglass. That frees the moment someone coughs. Yeah, I'm the wrong mouth to argue custody with. I watch banks vaporize deposits and call it liquidity risk. I watch courts seize assets and smile like politicians do. You really think they ain't gonna do that when Bitcoin threatens revenue? Come on, stop pretending your ETF share is sovereign. Stop pretending your broker won't fold the moment Congress offers them protection for cooperation. That's the cost of regulation. The chain sound, but your exposure isn't ownership, it's imitation.
Adoption ain't custody, custody ain't sovereignty. Institutions ain't loyal, they're obedient. They're future sellers, not protectors.
People love extremes. Infinity or zero, moon or rug, God or scam. But money was never magic, and no good service. Money is priced like that or ever will be. It's plumbing, infrastructure, a tool for moving value around without getting robbed, captured, or taxed into dust. Scarcity alone doesn't save you. Narratives don't save you. Only function does, only adoption does. And monetary adoption is the sole variable that will be supporting price decades from now.
Yeah. Who taught y'all math? Who taught y'all money? Let's be blunt, that infinity is zero, mantra's lunacy. Y'all treat supply like sorcery, act like code is scarcity. Replaces basic scrutiny, I'm moving brutally. Eviscerate a mean with 2 degrees of freedom. Left is function plus utility. See, value ain't a rumor spree, it's what it does, who it serves, how efficient the movement be. I'm sick of pseudo priests preaching numerology, turning heavens into holy days, sharp patterns into prophecy. Dogma over logic, ideology over property. If money's infrastructure, why y'all worship it like idolatry? Listen, nothing's worth infinity, not land, not oil, not gold, not divinity. Every price is relativity between demand and what the service actually gives to me. You ain't guarding scarcity, you're worshiping linearity. And markets built on liquidity, velocity and fallibility. That's why I'm spitting acid. This ain't rap, it's hostile louder than every myth collapsing, every maxi mantra rotten. And I'm clocking the cognitive dissonance, y'all blocking the obvious evidence. If the fees rise, usage dies, and infinite value becomes non-confidence. Number go up, cool, but what's the chain do? Where's the throughput? Where's the proof that the narrative and mechanism move in lockstep? I'm the wrong one, the wrong step. I dissect markets like a bomb tech. Steady hand, calm breath. Cut the green wire, watch illusions lose their context. You want a hard truth. Scarcity's a feature, not the thesis. Without sustained demand, the price falls into pieces. MOE births SOV, engine first and exhaust releases. But you parents preach the sequence backwards, act like usage don't matter. While I'm laughing sharper than daggers, press the bad faith actors who think a fixed supply turns fiction into factors. Price ain't magic, it's pressure plus practice. Actual settlement, not speculative theatrics. You call BTC a miracle, I call it infrastructure with elastic. Demand curves that bend like plastic. When belief gets stretched past capacity, infinity, zero. Please. That's bar napkin theology, binary philosophy, peddled by influencers with borrowed legitimacy. I'm here to snap the symmetry, undress the fallacy, kill the mystique with militant imagery. Whole crowd shook like I pull receipts out of artillery. This ain't hate, it's clarity, a rarity, scaring these weak theories that age embarrassingly. And I don't need your amen, just basic literacy. Money's not a myth you manifest, it's a service delivered through efficiency. So drop the superstition, stop trading faith for definition. In this audition for comprehension, I'm the only one spitting with the right precision. Y'all talk infinity, I talk valuation. Y'all talk destiny, I talk monetization. This is what happens when a speculator actually studies the foundations. You cling to slogans, I deal in equations. I talk infinity, I talk infinity. Yeah. Y'all talk charts, I talk first principles. Run it. Look, money ain't an asset, money is the axis. Half of every trade, other side of all the matches. Whole world priced in it, markets orbit around its gravity. You valuing tokens like they stocks, this ain't that anatomy. Most demanded class, cause everything settles through it. Speculators miss it cause the use ain't always viewed as movement. They think it's just a coin, but a chain that acts as money going. Outrun every stock bond, metal on your monthly value, goods demanded in it. Will to hold it static, velocity the variable that makes the price dramatic. Fiat got that ADHD money moving, hella frantic. Zip turn savers into gamblers, habits borderline semantic. But crypto flipped the current. Bitcoin's velocity decaying. People hold it cause they trust that tomorrow is worth staying. Speculative chips ain't money, high turnover wanna trade. But long duration holders, that's a monetary grade. Damn stupid. 150 trillion in the system. White markets, black markets, gray zones in the distance. Shadow money moving silent. Stateless by design, 15% at minimum. But that number's prone to climbing. Bitcoin chains compete for half that pie of threat environments. Worsen in productive folk escape surveillance climates. That's engineers, merchants, builders, economic crime units. Not the moon boy retail dopamine that tweets confuses users. Fiat value rides on product of the nation underneath. Dollar game reserve cause US industry had teeth. People wanted what was priced in it. Cars, steel fleets. Same what happened with these chains once the free class tweaks when taxed out. High value individuals feel the heat. They gon' route their earnings through a chain the state can't leash. Not paying $1,000 fees to move a couple G's. So they migrate to the network where the settlement is cheap. Now price. How you know a money chain inflated or depressed? MVT the ratio like PE for the rest. High MVT, story got more volume than the checks. Low MVT, usage out here paying rent. Bitcoin sitting on its highest premium on record. Price way over function, speculation as the shepherd. Institutional hype, injecting false conviction, pressure and hodl culture hitting limits. Monetization can't go extra, meanwhile Litecoin lowest MVT in years. Usage heavy, story dead. Monetizing while ignored, but market priced it like it bled. Fundamentals ain't dissolved, they just ain't been recognized. And edge existing gaps between belief and what's implied. See, fundamentals fundamentals matter long term. They gravity the bubble, speculation levitates the price until it hits a struggle. Crypto's worst distortion, folks assume that hype's eternal, cause the past 10 years were nonsense on a stimulant external. But everything reverts to what it does, not what it claims. MOE burst SSV, the exhaust behind the flame. Chains that trade like stocks forever, guaranteed to fade. But chains that settle value daily, those the ones that stay. So how do you value money? Truthfully, it's simple. Track the users, track the usage, not the influencers riddle. Track the goods demanded in it, track the time folks hold. Track velocity, track TAM, track speculative code. If story greater than usage, that's a bubble in rotation. If usage greater than story, that's the floor before evaluation. Bitcoin over-indexed on belief and expectation. Litecoin underpriced on actual monetary imitation. That's the math, that's the spread, that's the edge of generations. You ain't early to crypto, you early to the valuation.
Chains grow in the dark. No influencers, no conferences, no hype cycles. Just usage. Just people transacting because it works, because it's cheap, because it doesn't break. Narratives can't measure that. Charts can't model that. Speculators can't see that. But the market always will. Eventually.
Hey. Picture company A, big Brinks tank in a trench coat, branded like a badge on your brainstem. Bitcoin best quote, high horse hallmark, 100x PE, crowd treated like a DD cause the ticker hit TV, but peak deeper, fleet creaking, seats taking, fees peaking, demand squeezing through a keyhole, whole block space wheezing. That's a bottleneck dragging, auction rate wagging, price tag jabbing at your ribs like a cop state baton dragging. I'm not exaggerating, I'm assassinating narrative. They worship the saturation, never ask what backs the apparatus is. Call it dominant cool, but dominance bends when the chain you defend can't scale past his friends. Now enter company B, low-key, silver fleet on idle. Same chassis, same engine, same title, but half price mileage, 9 lives in the drive line, 90% capacity, just waiting on the sideline. I'm talking LTC, baby. The chain they clown cause they never read data. Dismissed like a ghost in a grayscale layer, but the ledger say used and the market say later. You see the mismatch, BTC breaking its kneecaps, trying to kneecap fees at peak cap C's. Meanwhile I breeze past these capped out schemes on a chain built cheap for the mid-value streams. Man, y'all treat Bitcoin like it's holy, till you need 10 racks just to move your homie. You pay a car note just to close one UTXO, but I'm the one insane for saying that won't grow. Stop. This is math, not mythology. This is throughput, throttling prophecy. This is economics mocking the apostles of monopoly. Company ahead, hit capacity, so naturally the tragedy is price spiking savagely. Then magically they say the average fee's healthy, casually gaslight the casualties. Retail stuck on the balcony, scream harder while they're bleeding out salaries. Meanwhile company B be balancing, no narrative mannequin, just settlement happening. Active addresses, my nerves are flattening, median values patterning like actual money, not gambling. That's monetization mapping in real time. Usage and value when trust and climb, while BTC stuck in a bubble of storylines. LTC growing underneath it like the roots of a landmine now. Now here's the part where I body the myth. You don't free your wealth by handing it to the Fed. You bitch, custodians cuff your coins like domestic disputes. Freeze, seize, blacklist, state-sponsored abuse. Bitcoin was built to escape that noose, so why the hell y'all brag when BlackRock reproduces? The same damn system it claimed it was losing. That ain't freedom, baby, that's IRS in your armored car cruising. Zoom out, look at user growth distribution. Non-custodial usage and LTC solution. BTC's diffusion, stall from confusion, speculative delusion, replacing real-world inclusion like coin. Transition from the exchange hop gimmick to consistent, persistent, resistant to capture finished physics. Negative reflexivity inflicted a price sickness, but hidden in the metrics is a beast with a wish list. Overflow demand, fee spike friction, speculative unwind, reflexive ignition. And when BTC hits exhaustion, when momentum costs fortunes, when the block space auction feels like foreclosure warnings, LTC's margin machinery morphs into a furnace. Company A got fans, Company B got facts. Ain't no myth strong enough to counteract that. When the pressure hits max in the faith contracts, Capital Road takes not dummies but the change with a function that outlasts collapse. See, BTC's premium is speculation on steroids. LTC's premium is missing, which makes it a convoy loaded with upside, strapped tight like a decoy, ready to detonate the second the market hears the void. Call it heresy, I call it legacy in draft. Call it clown talk, I call it looking at the math. Company A at the ceiling, Company B in the grass, and when demand snaps, well, rough flow hits fast. That's not a theory, that's an economic forecast.
This is the part nobody wants to admit. Bitcoin can't scale by wishing it could. It has a hard limit, a fixed fleet, a ceiling you can't narrative your way through. Litecoin doesn't need a miracle. It just needs overflow. Markets always root around bottlenecks.
Yeah. Crown the king before the famine hit. But coronations don't matter when the kingdom don't transact. Watch me dissect it. Truth in a vice grip. Bitcoin got hype sick, bloated on its own price myth. Eras turned sideways, story got tight-lipped. MOE died slow while the Maxis yell light ship. Bro, listen, I'm the legend they ignored in the shadows. Chain with the halos, built quiet while they play show. BTC bragging like it's Pharaoh with the payload. Till fees hit the ceiling and the whole parade slows. They treat belief like a birthright, nah, that's borrowed. You don't get the store value in chains nobody follows. I watch your block space choke like a throat full of hollows. Speculative premium built tall, but it's hollow. Look, you ain't sovereign and you're sponsored, held hostage by custodians. Institutions folding when the state tells them open this. Your ETF priest preach conviction to the close of biz, but freeze orders hit, and suddenly they close the wrist. Meanwhile, I'm over here, bare metal, bare knuckles, bare truth. Same code roots, but I age like proof. Same hash bar, but I actually move. You hoard, I settle, you brag, I prove. Negative reflexivity, my curse became the blessing. They call me dead, but dead chains don't keep progressing. You said you kept climbing while your hype kept progressing. Narrative divorced from your on-chain compressing. LTC the understudy, but understudies learn the whole script before the dummy. I watch you monetize early, then ossify clumsy. I watch the market worship you, cause price made you comfy. But money ain't a trophy, it's circulation, trusting who gets chosen. Yeah, when real users get priced out, the network erodes and silence frozen. I'm the chain built for the overflow. Bad spill over underflow, mid-value undertow. When your Brinks trucks overload, I'm the second chassis of the same damn code. Not a knockoff, just a lane you couldn't hold. See, your ceiling is structural, block caps functional, fee spikes punctual. Man, the exponential, you can't scale culture when the culture ain't functional. Can't be the money if the money ain't touchable. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at 10% throttle. Miners lean, float, lock, bottle. Rocket pressure bidding like a model, ready to punch through your cap full throttle. Speculative premium, you hoarded it, monetization. I corner it, MBT bloated, you're orbiting mine low. I absorb when they forfeit it. See, here's the end and nobody wants to print. Little brother steps in when big brother can't sprint. When the block space cracks and the exits get thin, your believers get stranded, I settle them in. Then the reflex flips, narrative bends. Flow turns torrential, liquidity sends. Price runs vertical, momentum ascends. And the chain once ignored becomes the value that defends. Cause when real demand migrates, monetary gravity blooms. Network effects detonating BTC's room. Shrinks to a shard in a server full of long lost zooms. Cold wallets of ghosts and abandoned boomer booms. I don't need your throne, I become the throne. You don't lose to me, you calcify alone. LTC second chain, second chain to awaken, but first one built to carry the world. When the first chain breaks, ain't little but the body's the legend. Cause he actually gets used, game over, exit liquidity diffused. Not a fork, not a copy, just the truth you refuse.
People romanticize dominance. They think the first mover always wins. But history doesn't care. Markets don't care. Users don't care. If a chain can settle value cheaper, faster, cleaner with the same properties, the market rotates. because it wants to. Because it has to.
You can't stop a monetary system from emerging. When the incentives line up. Litecoin didn't need to reinvent Bitcoin. It just needed to inherit the parts that mattered and avoid the parts that broke. Every overflow becomes a migration. Every migration becomes a culture. Every culture becomes a monetary network. This is how the second chain rises.
Look, markets don't reward the loud ones. They reward the ones who actually listen. Not the influencers, not the headlines, to misprice into the gap between story and structure, between what people chant and what the ledger shows in silence. This whole cycle, a magic trick built on mood. Bitcoin floating on vibes, MVT screaming like a balloon stretched to its last molecule. Speculative helium leaking while the crowd swears it's inevitable. Everybody quoting destiny cause they never learn how to read demand. Meanwhile, Litecoin, the chain they call dead, been quietly doing the one thing money has to do.
Function.
Not promise, not posture, not pose for institutions like a model on a catwalk. Just move value, clean, cheap, constant. 10 years of receipts stacked higher than the memes against it. And that's how asymmetry works. The winners don't look like winners till the losers run out of excuses.
People think this moment is about crypto.
It's not. It's about what happens when a monetary system priced for perfection slams into the ceiling of its own design. 300,000 slots a day versus tens of millions trying to exit at once. A Brinks truck bottleneck, a bidding war for the right to move, and the crowd will call it chaos when it's just mad finally showing its teeth. That's the shattering.
That's the break.
That's when narrative loses to physics.
And when that moment hits, all the demand has to spill somewhere. Not into marketing coins, not into VC theme parks, into the only parallel chain that already shares the blueprint, already has the monetization, already processes the mid-value commerce the world actually lives on.
Litecoin's the overflow valve. Nobody bothered to model the second settlement rail built from day one. The quiet brother of the crowd kept clowning right up until he stood up in the room, realized he's the one holding the real weight. The symmetry isn't luck, it's recognizing the truth early, that the chain priced like a joke is the same chain built like a weapon.
You're not early to crypto, you're early to comprehension.
Early to the fraction, early to the substitution, early to the moment the crowd realizes the future of money doesn't care who was loudest, only who was used.
This window doesn't stay open,
It snaps, it flips.
and when it does, the chain that spent a decade in the shadows steps into the light and inherits everything the crowd miscried.
That's the asymmetry. That's the cycle.
That's the quiet battle.
That's the quiet advantage.
If you're listening now, you heard it before the world admitted it.